Hey, good morning. It was one of them beautiful South Texas mornings this morning where it was about 36 degrees when I headed out on my walk. The air was really crisp and the sun was lighting up the oaks and the mesquites out there in the field. As I kind of took my walk this morning, I encountered something kind of special. So as I was sitting there sipping on my morning drink here in my Cody cup and walking around the place just looking around, about halfway through my walk, something caught my eye. A pair of really big birds sitting up in the tree, up in the little old mesquite tree right there. I stopped dead in my tracks and I began looking at them a little bit closer. I realized that these were proud, imposing birds sitting up on this tree branch up there. They were black and white plumage with their yellow and orange little patch on their face. Immediately, I knew they were the crested caracara, more poetically known as the Mexican eagle. Now I want to get something straight, right out of the gate, right out of the box. The caracara, or the Mexican eagle as it's known, is not the bird that's on the Mexican flag. That's actually a golden eagle. Now I can see how some people could get those confused because they're both very majestic birds. But this pair here this morning were a couple of crested caracaras, the Mexican eagle. And this morning I was kind of thinking how these birds have a big royal figure, a real significance to the world that we live in. Now let's take a little sidetrack here because this is one of those moments in life where I wish I had my Canon camera with my telephoto lens and my Canon R6, but I didn't. That's just a little impractical to lug around with me on my morning walks. But I did have my Google Pixel 9 Pro, and that takes a pretty good camera. It does the job in a pinch, Now, I framed my shots pretty well and did the best I could do with what I had. And I probably wouldn't enter these photos into any contest or anything or submit them to Texas Parks and Wildlife or anything. But they captured the moment. And for me, that was okay. That's all I needed. There's an old saying as photographers, the best camera you have is the one that you have with you. And for me this morning, my phone served me well enough. And looking back at these photos here in the studio this morning, I'm pretty happy with what I got. And that's all that really matters. Be happy with what you got. Now the caracara. The caracara is a fascinating bird. It's an absolutely fascinating thing. Technically, it's a falcon. Though it behaves more like a vulture, it's actually a falcon. And it kind of scavenges for food. It just kind of cleans up the world's messier inhabitants, and they're birds that stand over 2 feet tall with a 4-foot wingspan. These things are pretty big. And watching these two birds set up in that mesquite tree this morning, minding their own business, I couldn't help but admire their calm demeanor. Now, these are massive birds, and to think that they were so calm and quiet and peaceful. These falcons, they were not out there trying to prove a point. They were not out there trying to be heard. But somehow their presence was saying something in itself. It was a reminder to me that the world is much bigger. It's much more magnificent. It's much more beautiful than just you and I and our opinions and our point of views and our perspectives. Now, there's a common misconception about folks who live out here in the country. Too often people paint us as anti-conservationists. They think that we have no regard for the animals or plants and other things that inhabit this world that we live in. That's just not true, not for most of us anyway. The reality, I think, is that most of us care very deeply about the land. We work it, we live on it, we respect it. Why? Because it sustains us. And with that respect comes the understanding that we're not the only sons of guns that call this place home. Listen, I've spent enough time in the oil fields and in rural communities to know that there is a deep appreciation for the natural world out there. We're not as bad as people think we are. Now, sure, there are some bad apples in every bunch. There always will be. And development and progress can sometimes feel careless or short-sighted. But I think there's people out there that are doing it the right way. They're finding ways to balance progress with preservation. They're the ones who leave buffer zones for wildlife, who think about long-term impacts of things, who understand that a healthy ecosystem benefits everyone, humans and animals alike. Now, misconceptions are dangerous because they divide us. They tear us apart. They make it easy to point fingers or paint with very broad brushstrokes. But the truth is that conservation, it isn't about one side or the other. It's about finding a common ground for all of us, even the things that don't have the voices. And encounters like the ones I had this morning remind me exactly why that matters. See, the caracara, with all of its size and beauty, feels like a symbol of balance. It's a scavenger, a falcon, yes, it sure is. But it's also a hunter. It thrives in spaces where the wild meets the tame. And watching these two birds sitting up there in that little mesquite tree, I felt a sense of hope. If we can find ways to coexist with creatures like them, maybe we can find a way to coexist with each other too. So as I stood there kind of soaking all of this in, I thought about how lucky we are to live in a place where moments like this are possible. And you can find them anywhere in the world. I found them all over the place. And it's a privilege to share this land with the wildlife. And it's a privilege to document these moments whenever I can in whatever way I can. So, here's the takeaway from all of this. Whether it's a caracara in a tree or the neighbor across the fence, there's always room for balance. There's always room for understanding. If we use our common sense and we work together, we can find compromise. We can find a compromise that honors both our needs and the needs of the natural world. So, with that, I want to tell you something. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Thanks for being a part of these conversations about South Texas and the bigger world that we live in. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you want to keep up with more of my adventures, just find me on the other major social media platforms. I'm out there. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to check out some merch on the website. It really helps me out too, by the way. It helps me get out and create more content for you. You can find me by searching Matt Pierce Blog. Anyway, until next time, y'all, remember to look up. Remember to not just look out for those snakes on the ground. Look up for the falcons in the air, because you never know what you might see. We'll see you later. Have a good day.